Well, I'm going to say this about government shutdown. It's actually, you're not going to believe this, but I know this, what happened in 1995, 96, when Newt Gingrich basically shut down the government for real, and there's employees from the government that went home and all that. You know what ultimately happened? They got paid for their time that they had to go home and not perform their duties at the government. They actually got paid for all that time. As soon as the funding got reinstated, basically what it came down to was a paid vacation. Even though it was like disruptive for these government employees, it turned out to be not a vacation, not vacation time. They just got paid. How's that? So I almost think that's what's going to happen again. It's not going to actually save a nickel. Not a nickel. Now, affordable housing or affordable health care is a pile of bullshit with Obama. It's actually going to be more money, but I'm going to get onto a separate video on that. But you're seeing silver and gold dropped. Oil, I expected oil to take a hit. I expected the markets to take a hit. The markets didn't take a hit. But, that's as of right now. But don't expect silver and gold to go to some ridiculously low price, because I think they've already, and I'm basing this on real common sense. All the big people, the bigger players, like the 6 largest bullion banks, they all went net long. I'm saying the same thing I said before, but it's very important now. They all went net long. The 6 largest bullion banks went net long on gold as of mid-May 2013. They were net short gold earlier in the year, in January 2013. They had the big crash in April, and then they went net long. I mean, there's going to be bigger gains than this. And actually, ultimately, the price of gold is going to be the same price as the Dow. Sounds crazy, right? With the Dow at 15,000, I don't know, maybe the Dow's going to go down to 8,000 and gold's going to be 8,000. But that's where it's going to peak out at. Gold's going to go up there a hell of a lot, okay, eventually. So, I mean, for the naysayers, do what the hell you want. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Another little interesting factoid is that in India, they raised the price of the tariff on gold in India, and they lowered it on silver. So that's going to create more people buying silver in India, which has a pretty good demand. And that's not going to be like making overnight change in the global markets on the spot price immediately, obviously. But it's going to be a factor, that's going to influence things in a realistic way over a period of time, because you're going to see that silver to gold ratio decrease. Whereas it's, 60 to 1 or whatever the hell it is now. And it'll get down to 30 to 1 or below eventually. So if you see gold going up over 2,000, silver's going to be above $60, okay, eventually. And I think it's actually going to happen all at once. It's just how it is. It takes you by surprise, Now, I heard that Eric Sprott was over 80% invested into precious metals. Now, I almost felt like saying to myself, which way are you invested? Are you invested long or short? But I know he's invested long. The guy is pretty smart. Now, actually, the one thing that's pissing me off about going in and out of the markets is this wash sale disallowed garbage by the IRS. They came up with this a few years ago. And it's like, if I feel that silver is going to take a hit the next day, I'd like to sell it and then rebuy it back cheaper, even if I take the loss, but it's less of a loss. But you know what? They don't let you freaking take that loss until you ultimately sell the whole damn thing because of wash sale disallowed. And I'm like, I don't even want to bother with these brokerage accounts anymore ultimately. So if I see the secondary peak, the peak before the big peak in 2014, I'm out of that shit. Because it's not the brokerage accounts that are a problem. It's the newer. They're not brand new, but they're the newer IRS rules, and I don't like that shit. Now, I can actually, I'm going to go ad lib on here, but you can actually go from like PSLV, sell it, then buy back SLV, and then that doesn't count as the wash sale disallowed because you are in a different fund. But it's like these petty rules are coming up with is pissing me off, to tell you the truth. So I don't want to deal with it. And you know, that's one reason I feel that eventually, before the big crash happens, I think in 2017. Now some say 2020, 21 or whatever. I think it's going to be 2017, 2018, around that time. When the big crash comes, I don't want to be in any kind of brokerage accounts. Period. None at all. None at all. So I'm hoping at the intermediate peak, which I expect to be in 2014, I will sell off then and get out of that game, because I don't like the petty rules that are coming up about. And I think if silver did go to, like, say, $150 or something like that, they would tax the crap out of it anyway, you know? So, and if you got it electronically, you're screwed, right? So that's one of my games. But it looks like the government shutdown is actually going to, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a paid vacation. That's what I expect it to be. But, you know, everybody's kind of like seeing silver. Well, we are seeing silver and gold go down right now. But, you know, some of the naysayers are going to be thinking that it's going to go to some extremely low prices. And I don't think so. Because, like I said, it's the 6 billion banks are net long. JP Morgan's net long on silver. Goldman Sachs is net long on gold. And George Soros is actually heavy into the gold miners. Okay? Plus, he's got a major bet, which I said this before, but it bears repeating. He's got a major bet that the S&P is going to tank. And I know he's just one guy, but you know what? That guy came from nothing. Okay? He came from nothing, and he's one of the wealthiest people in the world due to real savvy, okay? Shrewdness. He understands what's going on. You know, you might not like him, but he knows what he's doing as far as money goes, okay? And so when he makes a big bet like that, he makes a big bet on the gold miners, and he makes a big, you know, for them to go up, and he makes a big bet for the equities to go down. I think he's going to win out. Or else he's not going to be as wealthy as he was, but I think he's going to win out. So, you know, it's like these things don't happen overnight, and I think sometimes the fear tactic comes into play. Oh, I better, you know, it's crashing, it's going to crash to the, you know, whatever, and then when it goes up, it's going to go to the moon. People play excessively on either side, but the thing is, when they shut down the government like this, which I said is going to be a paid vacation, what's going to actually happen is the fundings, the spigots are going to open back up. They're going to raise the debt ceiling, so one way or the other, even if Obama does it by himself, which is illegal, it's going to happen. And when that happens, it's like it's probably going to get raised even higher, because there's going to be this fear that, you know, you want enough money available for the government to operate because of the fear of a future shutdown after this. So they'll probably raise it even higher. You know what I mean? Than it would have normally done. That's just common sense. You know what I'm saying? They would actually raise it even higher because there's going to be this future fear of a shutdown in the government. Because what happens? They don't want to deal with this. They probably want to raise it even higher than they did before, which is actually going to be very bullish for the metals too. And it's going to cause the U.S. Treasury to go back and keep buying their own bonds and going into the markets and all this kind of garbage. So it's going to be good for gold and silver. But like I said, I think when we get to this intermediate main top, whatever the hell you want to call it, before we actually have the serious height in 2017, 2018, I think, you're going to see when it climbs up, it's going to take probably 6 to 8 months where it really takes off. It's not going to be like, you know, a year. So if we're talking 2014, you know, it's not too far away. And I think the catalyst, like I said before, is going to be the Middle East. That situation is still brewing under the surface, and it's not going away, you know. Actually, I'm going to say this, you know, people are going to get mad at this, but, you know, a lot of people think, you know, if you're really shrewd Illuminati or whatever the hell it is, you ought to let the Iranians and the Saudis and everything else have the nukes and concentrate on having a very good umbrella over your country with like Star Wars and lasers and space stations that can knock them out. And because you know what's going to happen if you really wanted to, you know what? If Israel wasn't in that area and the United States wasn't interfering in that area, there'd be all kinds of like tribal and religious warfare going on there anyway. You know what I mean? You know, people tend to think it's all the West and all Israel causing it and creating more tensions. I don't think so. It's just there. That's just how it is, man. So I don't know what the deal is, man. People are stupid sometimes. They just dumb. You know what I mean? They don't work together. They get into these petty rules and petty bickering. And you know, if you look at Afghanistan, it's been like that too. There's been, you know, you could say the United States and the West is interfering in Afghanistan. But Afghanistan's had tribal warfare amongst each other for like centuries, okay? And if they had nukes, they'd be lobbing nukes at each other. You know what I'm saying? That's the reality. But when an outsider comes in, they kind of unite. You know, that's the deal. Then it's like, oh, we all see a bad guy, you know what I mean? But if you leave them on their own, they all fight each other. So, freaking wacky places, man. I'll tell you the truth. But you know, do think that, you know, the government's not, it's going to shut down. The government employees are going to get paid. That's what I'm pretty damn sure of it. And when it opens back up, they're going to raise the debt ceiling even higher than they did before. They would have because of anticipation of a future shutdown and the worries about and concerns about some long-range shutdown sometime in the future. They don't want to deal with this situation again, so they're going to try to raise it even higher, the debt ceiling, which is going to be good for gold and silver. All right? And just remember, all the big, heavy players are long on these metals. You know? Even Eric Sprott, I know he's whatever the hell he is. If he's 80, I think Eric Sprott is going to get tremendous wealth from this because it being 80% invested in the metals like that, it's going to play out like crazy. You know? It is. I mean, psychologically right now it doesn't look good, but it's going to play out like crazy, and he will be rewarded. But somebody else is going to get left holding the bag, and I can figure out who that is. You know what I mean? That's the way it goes, man.